Finally, to another episode of Romantasy Roundtable, a tale of Rick and Roses, and I'm joined with my roses,
Amanda.
And Kim.
And it's been a while. It's true. But we've been busy. We have not had our chance to have our schedules aligned. And that's okay, because this isn't real. None of this is real. So last we spoke about, we had assigned everyone some homework to read this wonderful little story called The Night Circus. The Night Circus. And we finished it. This was our spring break homework. And would you like to talk about the book, or would you like to just start with some feelings of the book?
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying that Rick is 0 for 2 on selecting books for this podcast.
What was the other book?
The other book was
We
From Blood and
loved
Ash.
From Blood and Ash.
We didn't. So here's what had happened. I was like, I think we should read a one-off as a spring break special. And I asked our good friend ChatGPT to write some options for us, and it gave us some options. And then I presented the options, and basically I was like, I don't want to read the first in a series. I want to read a one-off book. And it suggested some other book by this author whose name is
Morgenstern.
I think it's Morgenstern.
Morgenstern.
Erin Morgenstern.
Erin, okay. I was like, it's not Rebecca, but I have Rebecca in my head.
And Rick was like, I'd like to read this other book by
Erin Morgenstern.
because I think it'll be better. And I said, fine.
And I said, sure. What she said.
And then eventually I said, I'm so sorry.
And so I was out of the country, and I texted them about halfway through the book and said, I hate this book, I fear.
And I'll be honest, too, in that I am someone who is not afraid of a DNF when it comes to reading a book. And if we had not been reading it for this podcast, never would have continued it. Would have been like, I am bored. I don't really care. Goodbye.
Extremely same.
And look.
What?
I mean, look, I understand that you're...
What?
I understand that you were ready to DNF this book, right?
Whatever you're about to say is bad.
It's not good.
But for this book, I was absolutely DTF. I was down to finish the book, you know?
That was awful.
Boo. Boo.
What?
Okay, so let's recap just like what the book is on its surface about. So on its surface, this book is supposed to be about these two proteges. They're magicians, they're illusionists, and they're in a competition. Only one can win, and they fall in love. That's
it's
like
the movie with Wolverine and Batman.
Yeah, The Prestige.
It's The Prestige.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it takes place at a circus. On its surface, that sounds really good. I feel like this book had to try to be as boring as it was.
It was kind of boring. So my big issue with the book is that every chapter was like a different character and a different time, and I struggle with that. I struggled, like, I tried to keep up with the different time breaks, and eventually I just stopped caring. And a big struggle for me was like reading a good chapter about a character and then starting over with a new one. That was my thing.
I don't struggle with that as much as you do. I know you really don't like when the perspective shifts. I was like less mad about that. I was mad about those like inner chapters where they were in second person and they were like, you enter through the block. That just felt like so pretentious to me. Like I was like, why are we doing this? I don't think they added anything to the story.
No.
So I have sort of two thoughts about this as it relates to our good friend Erin Morgenstern here. First and foremost, I feel like this book came about because she had a concept in her head of this circus, this night circus that had all these super elaborate tents and shows, etc. And so like I feel like she wrote those vignettes first and then was like, how do I incorporate this into a plot? My second thing, and this is partially, we chose this book and have chosen all of the books that we've read so far because there is sort of some component of a love story, some kind of romantasy thing happening. And this purported to have a love story. And for me, I feel that the love story is between the author and her circus. It was not between the characters. It is between Erin and her absolute just love and passion for what she wrote.
And like the main characters, okay, so Celia is the protege and daughter of Prospero the Enchanter, and Marco is the protege of this other guy.
They never name him, I think. They initial him the whole book.
Mr. A.H.
Mr. Gray Shirt.
Yep, Mr. Gray Shirt. So Celia and Marco like don't even know that they're competing against each other until maybe 65% of the way through the book.
That's pretty accurate.
They fall in love, or not even. They like start to have feelings for each other like 3 chapters later, and I'm like, finally, like we're finally gonna get some romance, something like. And then in the next chapter, it's 3 years later, and they're having a wild affair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we yada yada got it over the good part.
Right.
Like we missed all the stuff. I believe, I'm not sure if I texted this to you guys or if I texted this to somebody else, but like halfway through the book, I was like, I'm so bored. Somebody kiss, fight, or die already.
Correct.
Like,
right?
I'm just like, what is, like, nothing is happening. The first half of the book, nothing happened. We're not going chapter by chapter because there's nothing to report. Nothing happens.
Yeah, and I've actually read, like, people have said, like, nothing happens. And nothing really does. Like, you're taken from point A, whatever, to point B for no reason. You're just, like, telling a story for nothing for the most part. Like, when things happen, there's really not much after the fact. So, like, like, people die, and I was ready for, like, something big to happen, but no, they just died, and then next type of thing. What I did like, there were parts that I did like. Like, I thought it was going to go somewhere better when basically everybody in the book has, like, they do have magic. Like, they have actual magic powers, and they use the guise of the circus to pretend like they don't, and run this circus. And I think that's a cool idea, but like you said, it doesn't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the book is very atmospheric, and so I feel after finishing reading it, I was left with the impression of a book, and not like an actual story that felt like it was resolved, or, as you're saying, had any kind of like climactic moment that I could hang on to.
It's like how when you drink LaCroix, it's like somebody is like whispering the name of a fruit from another room.
Right.
It's that, but
she like waved a story over.
Yeah.
The
I have a
prose that
question.
she wrote.
I have a question for you guys. What is the competition? What's the objective of the competition that Celia and Marco are in?
Yeah, I don't.
Basically, it's like to make somebody kill themselves, because I feel like they're constantly having to one up. Because that's what happened in the previous one, is that one of the people just gave up and killed themselves.
Right, and they don't even really do a great job explaining as to why Prospero and Gray Shirt even want this.
And that they do it over and over and over again, but they don't explain
why. Like, my general impression was like, I'm a magician this way, and it's like, nah, bro, I'm a magician this way, and it's like, well, you're wrong. Well, you're wrong. Great, let's make 2 people do it. Let's train 2 people and see who's right.
Right.
And I was like, that's it? Like, it reminded me, so like, they have this elaborate game and someone will die, right? So like, the stakes are very high.
But they also don't know that someone's going to die until they're already, and they don't have agency over whether or not they participate in the game, because they were bound to the game when they were children.
Yeah.
They don't know they're going to die.
Right. And seems very left field, but I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but like, at some point, this really reminded me of like Trading Places. You ever see Trading Places?
No.
Okay, it's like, so like, it's an Eddie Murphy movie, and these 2 like billionaires bet that they can like swap like someone who lives on the street with someone who's like, who works in Wall Street, who's like rich. They can swap their lives and they'll both be fine. And they essentially ruined their lives, and the bet was over $1. It's like
It's the Prince and the Pauper.
It's the Prince and the Pauper. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a fable, a classic story. It's a folk tale.
But it's the same thing where it's like, the stakes are unbelievably high because someone's going to die over like, I can do it better than you. Like...
Yeah. And like, There's also like an element of like the people who are involved in the circus don't age or die.
Right.
And like they never really get into why that is. And so it's like, if you're like, well, we're going to play this game and somebody's going to die, like everybody's going to die eventually. But by engaging in the circus, they're like becoming immortal. So I don't know. I'm just like, the stakes, the objective is unclear to me. The stakes are also unclear to me.
Yeah, like what is the point of the book, essentially? Like, what is the point of the book?
Right. If
I don't know.
Right.
the competition is nebulous, I mean, the circus itself is nebulous for that matter. And now I lost my train of thought.
Because Kim is not a close talker, so she moves away from the mic as much as possible, for no reason. She's afraid of the mic. Mm-hmm. What was I going to say? I was going to say we don't want any dead air, so we have to keep talking. My favorite character in the book is the circus. The circus was the best character in the book, which is pathetic.
Sure.
You didn't like the circus? I thought that the circus was great. Like,
the more time goes on, the more I dislike this book.
I still hold that I like.
The further away you get from it, the more you.
I still hold that I like the circus as a character, but that's bad. The circus doesn't do anything. You know, her.
I disagree. I'm fine with liking the circus as a character. I'm not
Okay.
mad about that. The car is a character in Supernatural, so like I'm fine. I'm fine with the circus as a character. We should talk about the ending of the book,
I don't remember what happened.
and we should talk about Bailey. So let's talk about Bailey first because he's important to the ending. So who's Bailey?
Bailey was one of the twins.
Nope.
Bailey was the dude.
Yep.
Right? He was the dude. Wait, was there a Marco in this book?
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
That's the main guy.
That's the main dude.
Competing with Celia.
Right? Okay. Bailey was. Oh, got it. I know who Bailey was. All right. So Bailey liked to go to the circus.
Yep.
And he was like, one day he was like, yo, I'm going to run away. And girl from the circus was like, you should come work at the circus because I'm a twin. And that's why you should come work at the circus. And then he like has this whole little crush on her. And she's like, show up tonight and you can come with us forever and be free. And he like doesn't. He like gets caught up with something. And he ends up at the circus, and he ends up as the new ringmaster of the circus, running everything for no reason, because he didn't want to go to college.
No, he did want to go to college.
He did want to go to college.
He didn't want to run the farm.
He didn't want to run the farm. So Bailey,
If this sounds boring to you, it's not our fault.
I feel like there's like a 0% chance anybody listening to this has read the book.
I know, and they're not going to now. Or
So-
there's going to be like a huge surge in readership for the Night Circus.
Yeah,
After
so
our
Bailey-
illuminating.
We're getting these like intertwining stories of like what's happening with the creation of the circus and like the creation of the competition, and then at the same time you're getting these chapters about Bailey and his life, and you're like, what does this even have to do with anything? I forgot who Bailey was until he showed up to the circus. And so he gets really into the circus, and he joins these people who are like following the circus, and like one of them is
Reveres.
yeah, and one of them is like maybe hanging out with Celia sometimes. I don't know. I don't really care. But Bailey is obsessed with the circus. He's really into Poppet, who's one of the twins, and he decides to run away and join the circus, but the circus has already moved, so he's like hanging out with some of the dreamers. That's what that's what that means.
Yep.
And and then he gets there, and that's the end of the competition where Celia and Marco, spoilers, decide to end the competition by
Sort of killing themselves. They like go into like the purgatory, essentially.
I actually think our ChatGPT summary does a good job of explaining this. They sacrifice their physical forms, binding their spirits to the circus itself in order to keep it alive and free from the control of their mentors. The circus then passes to a new generation with the twins, and then specifically with Bailey taking on the role as the ringmaster, as you said, the leader of the new circus.
Okay, so here is my biggest challenge with how all this ended. And I like rage closed my Kindle at the end of this book, kind of like how I did with From Blood and Ash.
You watch your goddamn mouth, all right?
I will talk ill of Poppy and Poppet.
I don't have beef with Poppet.
I don't have beef with Poppet. Poppet's
fine.
great.
I don't have beef with any individual characters. I just don't care about it.
I didn't really like Kimiko.
Oh.
The contortionist.
The contortionist.
Sure.
Okay, but here's my challenge is because, like, Celia and Marco had already decided that if Bailey showed up, they were going to, in essence, sort of, like, coerce him into becoming the ringmaster of the circus. This kid is, like, 16. So, yes, he's quote-unquote obsessed with the circus, but he is, like, a young teenager who's not yet college-going age, which was, like, part of the thing was that he wasn't able to... Well, his family hadn't decided yet whether he was going to go to college or stay on the farm. And so he, like, ends up binding himself to the circus at age 16. And that just feels icky to me that they, like, coerced a child into doing that.
And I would like us all to think about the things that we were really into when we were 16, and if we had made the choice to bind our life to that thing forever.
I still play video games.
Okay. I don't really know what that is for me.
I know,
Wearing
right?
scarves as belts, like, I don't know. what was I into when I was 16? Nothing.
Right?
Good.
The year 2000? Y2K?
Well, let's. I don't have nothing else to say about this book. I mean, our summaries.
We got to rate it.
Yeah. So, we often rate books on stars and soups. I like that. I just came up with that. Stars. I'm saying, like, putting them together.
That's
like
what
stars
we
and soup.
literally said that in the last episode that we rated a book. Stars and soups, everybody.
Stars and soups forever. All right, let's go around the table.
Stars first.
Stars first. What do we got? What do you got, Amanda?
I don't remember what I rated this on the apps.
I know what you did, but
I
now
think
it's lower.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a 2.5 for me.
Oh, it raised actually.
Was it a 2?
Yeah.
Two.
All right, it's a 2. It's like extremely mediocre. It's super forgettable. There's nothing about this book that made me want to keep opening it and reading more, but there's nothing about it that made me rage the way that Kim did. It's just like fine. It's fine. If there was a sequel, I would not read it.
And I also gave it a 2. I recognize that the writing is strong. I recognize that there is an audience that probably loves this book. And it was just not me. And it was not really what I wanted to read over spring break when I just wanted, like, absolute escapism. And then I was, like, stuck in this, like, limbo purgatory of this book.
I also didn't like it, but not a 2. I did rate it a 3. I'm gonna stick with the 3, and I'm gonna use a word that I said before. To me, reading this book was like being in purgatory. I didn't love it, and I didn't hate it. It just was. So that's how I feel about it. Like, there were times where I hated it, and there were times that I loved it. Like, actually loved it. Like, I really liked some of the characters, some of the little stories, and there were times where I was like, this is the most boring thing I ever read. There were times where I was like, I want to know more, and there were times that it was like, please end. So I feel so weird and indifferent about this that I can't give it anything other than a 3. All right, let's talk about soups. Cans of soups.
0 cans of soup.
Can we give it less than
There's
that?
no soup in this book.
There's like implied soup.
Well, but there's not even chemistry between
I know,
the
right?
there's
romantic
not.
leads.
Yeah.
It's not
Like,
even a love story.
It's not even a love story. Look, if we weren't expecting a love story, I would feel differently about it. But because we were expecting a love story, negative soup.
Everything said it was a love story.
Yeah, negative 2 cans of soup is my
I'm down
rating.
with that. I will also give it negative 2 cans of soup. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Yeah, 0 if it didn't bill itself as a romantasy book, but
The soup is spoiled.
rip soup.
No soup.
No soup.
So yeah, we should have DNF'd this book, not DTF'd it.
Ew. What else did we read over spring break?
Oh, that's a
friends?
great question. I read a great book. I finally read The Cruel Prince, and it was so good. I finished it in like 3 days. It was such a good book, and I also just finished part 2 of The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King. Not as good as the first one to me, but The Cruel Prince was phenomenal.
So I read 3 rom-coms over spring break, and I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I only remember the name of one of them, because I read each of them in like a day and a half, and they were what I was looking for, just absolute silliness and complete escapism. One of them, which I do remember, was called All Fours. Gives you an idea of the content of that book.
Your girl's been reading.
Oh, yeah.
I read Divine Rivals, which I quite liked and was recommended by a friend. There is a sequel. I will likely read the sequel at some point, but that was, I thought, a good romantasy book. Then I read Stone Blind. It was fine. I wanted to like it more than I did. It's basically just Medusa, but Medusa's a good story. It's not a fresh take on Medusa. Don't know why everyone keeps saying that. Then I read A Well-Trained Wife, which is a memoir of a person escaping from the Quiverful movement, and I liked that. And then I read The Maid and the Crocodile, which I would like. That was one of the options for a one-off book to read over spring break. And so I will close out my portion of the podcast by saying we should have read The Maid and the Crocodile.
I'm so sorry. I'm not going to pick the next book, I promise. I promise. I'm not going to pick the next book. I'm so sorry. Speaking of our next book, which I guess I am going to pick. No, we're not. I'm not picking. We've all collectively picked it. So the next book we are going to read, if you'd like to follow along with us, is Iron Flame, Part 2 in the Empyrean series, or Fourth Wing, depending on how you want to call it.
Or as I lovingly refer to it, Fifth Wing. Because it's the Fourth Wing is the first one, it's the one
Second
more,
one.
it's the Fifth Wing.
It really should just be called Anne Dorner and Friends, honestly, because... Oh, she's making a face. Our little baby girl's all grown up.
She's asleep right now.
So, spoiler alert, we actually have started reading this in preparation for the next episode of the podcast. Our schedule got thrown off, so we were supposed to record that one very soon.
We're doing great.
Yeah, everything is fine. Can we just put a pause on everything? That's the whole mantra
So
right now.
we'd like to tell you how many chapters we're going to read in the next episode, but we don't know.
Here's the thing. Let's say part 1. Read through part 1 to listen to the next episode.
So that's chapters 1 through 36.
Yeah.
Just to give everyone a sense of our emotional state today, all three of us are currently holding emotional support stuffed animals.
Yep, that's where we're at, guys.
Tell
That's
us
us.
about the animal you're holding.
I'm holding an African wild dog named Patty.
I am holding an otter. Does he have a name?
His name is Otis.
Otis? Otis, that came from the National Zoo in D.C.
I'm holding a stuffed animal of my dog Socket.
There it is. That's where we're at. So, part 1 of Iron Flame. Fifth Wing. I didn't think I was going to be able to... So, we're recording it tomorrow, which is going to be a while for you guys, a couple days. We need a buffer. But it got actually really good, and I think I might be able to catch up and record that tomorrow. Like, that's how much I'm enjoying it. So, spoiler, it's good. All right. Thank you all for listening. And I can't wait to DTF Iron Flame.